Today I'm going to show you how to make a card using some of the pretty trellis papers along with some of Lisa's other products, including the butterflies. So here you can see some of the trellis papers, and this is the jeweled butterfly stamp set, so I use the top one. I then incorporated some of the Mermaid Tails to add some sparkle. So in this video I'll show you how. So first of all you need a 4 1/4 by 6.5 card blank. Then you want to measure a base colour of 4 by 6 1/4, and you need some sticky back plastic of the same size. This is going to go onto the lilac part of your project. So let's begin by peeling off one side of the sticky back plastic, and we're going to adhere that to the piece of purple. The reason that we're using coloured paper is so that we can change the colour of the mermaid tails. So depending on what colour you use will affect the mermaid tails when you add the sparkle. So press it down firmly, and then you just need to trim off the edges to make sure that you've got a good solid base. I laid the card onto some grid lines and I put the back onto the sticky so that I had some control over where I was laying the strips of paper. The widths of these strips were very random because that adds to the pattern, and then all you have to do is to lay it down onto the sticky and then pull down the backing, leave a little gap because that's where your mermaid tails are going to sit, and carry on until you have laid down all the strips along the purple piece of card. So I'll speed this part of the process up. This is a stage where you can add some bling to these strips. The purple parts are still sticky, so here you can add your mermaid tails or any other of the sparkly glitters from Lisa's range. This is Lilac Sea and it has all the colours under the sun. So I'm going to use some paper to catch the bits, and then I sprinkle it across, and as you can see it will adhere to the sticky black plastic. So you'll have strips of the pretty pattern paper and you will have the glitter in between. So there's plenty in the pot, so just lift up the card and tip it down, and then it will cover the rest of the sticky back plastic. Then the rest of it can go back into the pot, but you're not finished there. So tap it down, take off the main parts of the sparkle, and then add that back to the pot, and you can see there all the shades of blue and purple and pink. It is alchemy, I think. So to give a smoother texture to the finished background, if you smooth over it, I use my finger, you can use a sponge or a cloth, but just gently rub over the strips and you'll see that the glitter adheres to the sticky back plastic and it takes on a like a golden hue, and you can just keep rubbing, and as you rub the lilacs will come up and the pinks and the blues, but it gives a smoother, smarter finish to the background. But if you like it chunky, then by all means leave it like that. So tap it off again and smooth off the edges, and then you can see that you've barely used any of the mermaid tails by the time you've put it back in the pot. So it will last you a long time. It does of course go everywhere, but then you'll end up with a lovely sparkly craft room. lid back on, and then we're ready for the next stage. You can add this to your card at this point, but you can see all the glitter there as I bring it up to the camera. I'm just smoothing off the edges, and then you've got a rather beautiful background. So you can use that in with any patterns and with any colours. So I just stuck this here using some glue, but you might want to use a sticky back pad to raise it up from the base card. The next step is to use our jewelled butterflies along with some of the Versafine Clair, and this is the Chianti, which is a deep purple, and we want 2 stamped images. So I use my stamping platform here, gently tapping on the ink to define the beautiful stamp designed by Anne, and then I gently, taking my time, open up the stamping platform, and there we are, 2 perfect images. Now, to seal the ink and to help a little bit with our colouring, I'm going to add some of Lisa's embossing powder, the Clair. It's a very good embossing powder, and it really will help you with the next stage. So I sprinkle it across, and then I will tap off the excess and pop that back in the pot. So I've heated up my tool a little bit, and I am heating the embossing powder from underneath to smooth out this surface, but also so that you can see just how beautifully these stamped images appear. So you can see all the details, and because we're adding the powder here, it's sealing in that Versafine Clair. So you can see the detail there on the stamp on the background paper, because everything seems to coordinate in this collection. I'm using some tonic pens here that I've had for some time. So I've got the Spring Lilac and the Delicate Rose, the Lavender Sky, and then an almost beige grey colour, Garlic Clove, that will match the background paper that I've used. So it's simply a matter of using the 4 colours to add a little bit of interest to the wings. So I'm not covering the whole of the image because I want some of the background paper to show through. It's almost like a tinted effect across the wings. So from this point I'll speed up the film a little bit so that you can see the finished effect. We're at the stage now where we can put the card together. So here I'm using some natural Sisal that is available from Lisa, and all I'm going to do is to string it out a little bit, and then I'm going to lay it over the card base that, if you remember, is still slightly sticky from the sticky back plastic. So keep smoothing it over the surface, and you'll find that there's enough adhesive to allow the Sisal to lay on top of the Mermaid Tails. so it adds a little dimension, and then I'll cut it off at the end. So keep smoothing it down, and then we're going to take some glue and add our butterflies. So I only added a touch of glue to the centre of the butterfly. And then laid it in position and gently pressed it down. It doesn't need much to hold it in place, and it doesn't really matter if the butterfly goes over the side of the card, because you want to give it the effect of flying. So a little bit more glue, and add the second butterfly lower down the card. Try and place them at different angles to make it look like they're flying around your garden. And then we're going to add our sentiment, which again I've taken from the wordage sheets. This was set 1, and they're really very useful, and all I tend to do is cut them down with a small guillotine, or you can use a pair of scissors, and a little bit of glue, and then I'm attaching it to the bottom of the card. And all that is then left to do is to think about adding some sparkle to the body of the butterflies. So I decided to use some glue again, and I like to make it go slightly tacky, so I tend to do this ahead of time. So added 3 dots to the centre of the butterfly, and then I bring over the glitzy gems. So you can pick any of the colours, any of these colours will go with this purple, but I tend to stick to 1 large gem and 2 smaller ones. I'm lucky to have a pair of Lisa's fine tweezers, and the sharp point really does help manipulate these smaller items so that you can place them on your card. So the larger gem went to the top, and then I needed 2 smaller ones. So I persevered until I had decorated each part of the butterfly's body. The last thing I need to do is to cut away some of the excess sisal from the side of the cards, which is very easy to do with a sharp pair of scissors. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial using the beautiful butterfly stamps. You can do a very similar thing with the trellis blooms that Lisa has recently released from Create and Craft. There we go, 2 cards. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it and will subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again soon.